welcome back to the Team Act Fitness Workshop. Today we're on episode 7. But before we get into episode 7, if you hit the subscribe button there, just so you get notifications of when a new video comes up. New videos are every Friday at 11:30. We'll go through some tip videos and then some workout videos, and we'll throw some different stuff in. Back today though, which is the bar squat. So I have it racked up here. A few things just to consider just before you do the squat is your warm-up, of course. There will be a video as well about a good mobility warm-up and stuff before we work out. But today we're just going to go focus on the back squat. Where it's racked first is important. The way I like to do it is just a little bit lower than probably what I need to do, so that when I come in under the bar that I can have a little bit of a quarter squat, and then I can unrack the bar. Also, it's important to have your clips on as well on the side. That is just in case you might go a little bit one-sided. It just stops the place from sliding off. There are two ways to approach the bar. You either come in from the front and you'll walk backwards before you start your set, or you'll come in from behind in the rack, and when you unrack it then you'll walk forward. But you do have to walk backwards then when you're finished. The height, like I said, is important because you don't want to have to go up on your tiptoes to try and rack it back in, especially after doing your set. And then the thing about your depth then as well, which is important. Look at depth is kind of a funny thing. Kind of squatting and squatting, as long as it's down to parallel, and by parallel I mean you're getting your femur bone parallel to the ground. So a squat will be there. If you're any higher than that, you know you really need to work on maybe your mobility and try and get your depth down. Just get your squat as efficient as possible. Now, once you start going too parallel, that is kind of sufficient enough. Now, if you're in kind of competition or stuff like that, there are different rules in some competitions about the depth that you have to go in the squat. But just for general working out and for the purpose of lifting, parallel is fine. And there might be other restrictions kind of in your hip or even the length of your femur. Sometimes a taller person finds it hard to get a little bit more depth. But it is it's fine going to parallel. Then it's your stance that you take. Some people can go nice and narrow and get a good full depth squat. Other people have to go a little bit wider, kind of play around with your foot position as well. Sometimes the feet go out a little bit, but just make sure if the toes are pointed out that the knee also tracks in the same direction as the toes then as well. Bar position on your back then is next. There's kind of two positions, which would be the high bar position and the low bar position. Probably for starting, your high bar position kind of sitting on your traps is probably better. The only thing is try not to have it sitting too high, that it's sitting on the top bone there, your spine there as well. And the low bar position then would come kind of just on the bottom in around here where the kind of shoulder blade sticks out. That does depend on your hand position on the bar then as well. If you go wide in the bar, you have less chance of trying to get the elbows out. You go narrow in the bar, you stick your elbows right out. Wrist flexion then is another thing on the bar. If you're narrow on the bar, you might find that you really have to bend the wrist in. Best thing to do is then take the thumb and just go an open grip on it and have it just sitting on it. Because you want to try and get the bar pat as straight as possible, up and down, and keep the bar across kind of the centre of gravity of your body, because if you go too far forward it's going to tip over. If you're too far back then the bar is going to slide off you then as well. So what we do is we just take the bar off the rack, just show you how to re-rack it, on rack and re-rack. We just do a couple of reps and try and watch out then just for the hand position then as well. So I'll try and do maybe a low bar position on this one, okay? Now the best thing to do when we racking it is just to kind of walk forward until the bar hits the rack. Then you know that you're in the rack, and then squat down and to re-rack it. because you don't want to be coming in and kind of looking left and right and trying to put right up and then left up. And you might have noticed then on that now that my depth is, might be where your depth is, but I kind of worked on that too, because I used to be just down to about here and I couldn't get any further. So it took a little bit of work to get down, a little bit of depth. And also then the foot position as well. That is just, everybody's different. So don't be afraid, like my squat's not going to be your squat isn't going to be someone else's squat. So it just depends on yourself and where you find the most efficient squatting position. But as long as it's parallel, your femur's parallel to the ground, that's a good squat. And it might be a little bit different than to other people, but it all depends on how you're made up then yourself. What else did I not say? Now the high bar position then will be across your traps then, so it's a little bit higher across, so that will be, you can see where that position is there on my back. And as I said then, we'll just re-rack that there. You'll notice then for the low bar position then, it's a little bit lower back down in the back there, okay? Now if you imagine then that your arms or hands are a little bit further on that, you'll notice that you won't get your elbow pointed backwards. So in order to have a nice kind of shelf for the bar to sit on, elbows have to be pointed backwards. If you tuck your elbows in, it's taking away that shelf from the back and the bar is actually going to slide down. And nothing worse than being in mid-set or mid-rep and the bar position is changing on you and kind of puts it a little bit uncomfortable for you as well. So there, like I said, there are just a few little tips. If you want to work on a few of them yourself and see can you add them into your squat workout. They're just tips that I've kind of picked up along the way that I kind of pass on to clients too and kind of change their technique just a little bit, just to make them a little bit more efficient on the squat. If you want to comment below and see if you have any tips you'd like to pass on, if you have any questions maybe you want me to go into some of them points a little more deeper. But it is kind of make sure that it's wrapped right for you. You've weight that you're able to do and your technique can still be good. So you're not going to jump up 10, 20 kilos every week if it's going to affect your technique. Nice steady progression onwards. And it also depends on obviously what time you're at, what kind of workout you're doing, whether it be 5.5s or 4.8s, stuff like that. Make sure you have your clips on as well. Then it's the back position, then it's next to bar position, whether you go high bar, low bar. Foot position then is next. And also then whether you walk out from the rack backwards when you're going to do your set, or you're walking forward then as well. And then just re-racking it down, make sure it hits the rack and comes down. Safety is always very important. If you're on rack it, you feel a little bit uncomfortable, just re-rack it back in and we can go again. Because that is very important. I'm pushing technique here a lot because it is important to get good technique and make sure that you're hitting parallel. It's good to get maybe someone to watch it, or even if you get your phone, because sometimes it is very hard to know whether you are squatting to the correct depth or not. Then the other thing then, this is the bar squat today. There are front squats, split squats, squat to a box, and we'll do another video on them later on. So for today, there are tips for your bar squat. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like I said, it's video 7, so it was a tips video for the squat. And videos are out Friday morning, 11:30. We're trying to get most videos out then as well. Don't forget to subscribe. I said at the start, it's one or other corner, not sure which way it goes. But it'd be really great if we get some subscribers for this as well. And like I said, comment below then as well. And if you have any tips you've picked up, or you're looking for maybe more in-depth into some of the tips I said today. But remember, safety first, then technique then as well. Learn a good technique, even if you have to go back to an empty bar and build it back up. Learn it, practice it, develop it then over the coming weeks then and months, and get a good strong base for your squat. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully you've picked up some good points.